From the Times and the Sunday Times, this is The Story. I'm Manveen Rana.
Would you like to have some tea?
In a quiet corner of an East London restaurant, surrounded by diners on a Wednesday night, an unregulated visa agent explained to us how he planned to dupe the Home Office.
That's Shanti Das, a senior investigations reporter at The Times.
He leant forward across the table. He didn't know he was being filmed. And he spelled out in detail how he planned to secure a work visa for a man he believed was facing deportation from the UK.
After that, we'll have the certificate, then I'll make you a CV and this and that. I'll show some experiences and we'll give you the, if Home Office asks to ask you some question that you are fully prepared to answer.
He explained that on paper everything would look legitimate. All the evidence would show the man was an employee of an event management company who'd applied for the job through the proper channels and was picked because he was an impressive candidate. The thing is, in reality, the job wouldn't exist.
In the past few months, the Labour government has clamped down on legal migration, introducing new, more stringent rules and regulations. As a result, applications for skilled worker visas have begun to plummet. But foreign workers who were already in the UK, who've now had their sponsorship cancelled, suddenly find themselves thrust into a difficult position. Find new sponsorship in 60 days or face deportation. For some companies and agents, that desperation has created an opportunity. The Times went undercover, posing as a migrant facing deportation. And today, we can reveal how a broken system is being exploited, how desperate people are turning to criminal networks, and what happens when you confront those at the centre of it. The story today, undercover in the immigration black market. Shanti, what made you look into this? What sort of first triggered your interest in it?
I've done a lot of reporting on immigration over the years, and in particular in the last few years. I'm, as a part of that, a member of loads of Facebook groups where people are posting all the time saying that they need jobs or they're trying to find visas. They're seeking advice, basically. And I started noticing that there were people who were posting ads or listings for jobs that were described as with things like payroll only, or they mentioned that there would be no job. So, yeah, my interest was piqued and I just started looking into it after that.
How did you go about looking into how this industry was working?
So I could get a sense just from looking online that there were lots of these posts, that there was definitely, it wasn't a one-off. And I could see from looking at some of the people behind the posts that they had posted dozens themselves, or that they were linked to companies that appeared to be real. So I felt as though there were grounds to investigate further and try to get a proper sense of what was going on. So I had a chat with my editors at The Times, and we agreed that the best way to really get a full picture of what was being sold, how this was being pitched, who was behind it, was to pose as somebody seeking sponsorship themselves. We focused firstly on the ones that seemed to be very clear that what they were selling was fraudulent. So they had explicitly said this was payroll only, or without work, or no job sponsorship. I then set up Facebook accounts and got a phone that was separate from my own and started contacting some of these people. Over 4 months, we spoke to 26 agents and company representatives that were offering certificates of sponsorship.
Wow. I mean, that's a lot of people out there. Did you get a sense of just how widespread this whole industry is, given that you managed to speak to so many in quite a short period of time.
Over the 4 months, we joined 13 Facebook groups, which had almost 1 million members combined, mostly people seeking sponsorship themselves. We also found more than 200 posts which openly advertised it as payroll only or without work, just on Facebook.
So, I mean, it's clearly happening at scale. To understand how it actually works, I mean, just take us back to the man you were telling us about earlier in the restaurant who was being secretly filmed in East London. Who is he?
So one of the listings that we responded to had advertised a certificate of sponsorship available without work. It said, if you're interested, then WhatsApp this number. So we messaged the number and said, hi, I'm looking for a certificate of sponsorship anywhere in the UK, and basically said, can you help? The person who responded to that message said, yes, I do have sponsorship, it's without work, and only your payroll will run. He said it was inside London and the cost would be £13,000.
So you're paying for a job you're not going to do, but they will hand you a certificate and it'll cost you £13,000.
Yeah, exactly. So he also said in messages, we didn't know who he was at this point, but he also said in messages, our certificate of sponsorship is ready to issue any time. If you're ready, then we can proceed. And he said that to go to the next stage, we would have to meet in person. So we worked with a brilliant reporter who went undercover for us in this situation. I'd set up the meeting. He went posing as a person seeking sponsorship. And the story that we gave the agent was that he was somebody who had arrived in the country legally. He was the dependent of somebody who'd arrived under the care worker route. She'd now lost her sponsorship, and so he was needing to find his own sponsorship or to find a job. It's a really common story. A lot of the people who turn to this market did arrive in the country legally under the care worker visa route or as in other skilled jobs, but have since had their sponsorship terminated, so are trying to find other options.
And when this meeting happened, you finally get a sighting of this man. I mean, who is he? Do we know his name?
So he gave his name in the meeting as Ovi, and we've later identified him as a man called Ovi Hussein. I was sitting in the restaurant a couple of paces away as the meeting was going on. He led the undercover reporter through to the back of the restaurant, and they sat in the corner. He explained in quite a lot of detail what was going to happen next and how the process would work.
But we are not giving any job to you. We do not have any jobs. We only sell you the COS. That's it.
So he reiterated what had been said in the messages, that this would be a payroll-only opportunity. He said that the sponsorship would be arranged through a company called Xena Event Management. And he said that the job that our undercover reporter would be doing was a senior management job. He explained that he had arrived in the UK recently. He'd been sponsored through the same company that he was now helping to arrange sponsorship through.
My elder brother was my blood brother. He sponsored me here through Xena.
So he explained that he'd need to meet somebody from the company and that the total cost would be £13,000, but that to get the process started, he'd have to pay £5,000.
As a down payment?
Yeah.
The procedure should be like you have to pay at least $5,000 before the COS. When I give you the COS, rest of the after the COS.
And he explained that once that payment had been made, the company would issue a document called a certificate of sponsorship, which effectively would say that he was working legitimately for the company and that he had been hired to do this management role.
This certificate of sponsorship, that's real. It's not a fake certificate. They are genuinely, this company will be telling the government that they are sponsoring this man.
Yeah, exactly. So the job is fake, but the documents that are issued by the company are genuine, and that's what allows the migrant to apply to the Home Office for their visa. So the company holds a genuine Home Office licence that enables it to sponsor workers and gives it the ability to issue these documents. After the Home Office has issued the work visa, the company puts the migrant on their payroll. Everything appears genuine, so they're paying them a salary, they're issuing payroll documents, they're registered with HMRC and paying tax, but it's all for show. The way it was explained to us by Ovi and by other agents that we spoke to is that, yes, they would be paid a salary. So anyone looking at the bank records would see that this person is being paid wages monthly by the company, but we were told that they would need to pay that money back. So one agent said that it would need to be paid into another bank account. Ovi said, when you give me the full salary amount, we'll just cut the payment of taxes and the rest of it. We'll send it to your account from our business account. That's the way we work.
If you want to go through with the taxes, because as far as you know, because you need to go through the taxes that is 5 years, then you can apply for an ILR. So you need to go through the taxes each month. You can do it individually and by hours, and you can do it. You need to pay the taxes every month. If you do with us, that would be better. When you give me the full salary amount us, we'll just cut the payment of taxes and rest of we'll send it to your account from our business account.
So for any company to hire a worker, they have to pay taxes. And what the agents explained to us is that the company's not going to fund that. So you need to fund it yourself if you want to keep that sponsorship in place.
So basically, for this undercover reporter, they're being told if they want to stay in the country, if they don't want to be deported, they have to pay £13,000 upfront for a certificate of sponsorship. And from then on, every month, they have to raise money that will basically be paid back to them in a salary, but with a monthly charge taken off, which will go towards taxes, all to create a paper trail that looks like they have a real job.
Yeah, exactly.
So tomorrow, from tomorrow to Sunday, I'm really busy. So on Monday, I think I can manage my boss, the main boss. He's my elder brother, who has blood brother, dinner marriage. So I'll fix a meeting with him Monday or Thursday, something like that. So you just come, see us, speak to us. If you are thinking that we're legit, then you can go. If you're not, we don't mind.
So this is the process that Ovi sets out at that meeting in the restaurant. The next step, he says, is to meet his relative who works for the company that would issue the certificate. Did you go that far? Did you arrange a meeting?
Yeah, so over the next few weeks, we kept talking to Ovi. We explained, he'd asked us to go and get an English certificate proving that the person could speak a decent level of English, which is a requirement. So we did that. We said we'd done that. And then went back to him to say, keen to proceed, what's the next step? He then put us in touch with somebody he said was a relative. His name's Rayhan Ghaffur, and he's the chief operating officer at Zena Event Management, which is the company Ovi had said would arrange the sponsorship. We tried to talk to Rayhan over the phone, but he was really reluctant to speak. He didn't feel that he could speak freely over the phone. He said that we should meet in person. So we then arranged for the undercover reporter to go and meet him. The meeting had been arranged at a McDonald's. When we got there, Rayhan didn't want to get out of the car. So the undercover reporter went to the car. He asked him to get in.
Sit down. Sit down.
So it's hazard lights on the side of a road in the dark.
Do you want to shut the door, please?
He turned off the inner light and asked him to shut the door. And they had a chat there.
Shanti, you've been telling us about this fake visa black market, how you and your colleague went undercover to meet some of these agents who are advertising certificates of sponsorship and ways of staying in the country through jobs which aren't actually real. You were telling us about this meeting. The undercover reporter went to meet the relative of the agent you initially met. This is the man who actually works for the company that's going to issue a certificate. They're in a car, the lights are off. What happened at that meeting?
So in that meeting, he reiterated the offer.
So if I do agree, then you need to send me all your documents. I'll send my accountants. He'll put in on my payroll. So I'll give you the pay slip straight away and I'll transfer you the money, salary, which is you take and give it to me back.
He said that he could offer sponsorship through this company. He said that it would be £13,000. And he provided a little bit more detail. So he said that it would be £55,000 a year on paper and that the job would enable the migrant to be able to bring family members. So it's in a job role that's eligible to bring dependents. He explained that there would be this monthly charge, but he didn't say how much it would be. And he said that the next step would be paying a deposit.
If you can at least give me advance, like you doing, like you are agreed, at least £2,000. You are agreed, yeah? Rehan, I'm agreed. Then I can proceed. On the day, I'll give you the Suez.
Ovi had told us 5,000. He said actually it would be 2,000. And he also provided reassurance. So we explained that, the undercover reporter explained that he was really nervous. He didn't know if this was going to be a scam. How could he trust? And Rehan reassured us that he had done this before. He had never worked with an outsider before, but he explained that it was a family business.
You will be the first person who, outsider, because there is no outsider. So everyone knows, and everyone, it's a familiar. Everyone knows the company. Everyone knows how to.
He wasn't going to run off with the money. It was a genuine company, and all of that stacked up.
So what I'm going to do, from Monday, I'll put you in my payroll from next month. I'll give you a pay slip. So this pay slip will show, like, you are my existing staff. I'm giving you a guarantee. You're going to get the visa within a week.
And if the person who is a migrant facing deportation, if they were to get caught trying to get a visa in this sort of illegal way, what would happen? I mean, what are the consequences for them?
Yeah, the penalties can be really severe. So it can be deportation, entry bans, in theory, prosecution, fines. It's a really precarious position for people to be in where they haven't got like a main job through their sponsor, but they obviously need to keep paying this fee. Otherwise, they risk the company terminating their sponsorship, which then leaves them without the right to remain in the UK. So they're really vulnerable to exploitation at that point. Obviously, if they can't make the money to pay that fee, then the sponsorship could be cancelled at any time. Yeah, so every month they have to pay this fee, but they have no work through their main sponsor. And inevitably, without that legal way to work through their main sponsor, some resort to cash-in-hand work, to precarious employment, where there's obviously even greater risk to them.
So considering all the risks, why are people willing to go through with this?
So many of the people that are now turning to these agents and the black market are people who arrived legally. Under Boris Johnson's government, there was a scheme to hire care workers. There was a really bad shortage in the sector. So Boris Johnson's government introduced a scheme that enabled companies to hire people in that sector from abroad. More than 930,000 visas were issued under that skilled worker visa route in the first 3 years, which was a lot more than what had been projected. So the Home Office initially forecast it'd be 360,000. And that also contributed to a peak in net migration in 2023 at 944,000. That has since dropped. Last year, it fell to 204,000. And that's partly as a result of changes brought in by the new Labour government to tighten the rules on international students and also on skilled workers. So there's been a change in who can bring dependents. There's been an increase in the salary threshold, increase in English language requirements, and floated changes to permanent residency. So all of that has led to a reduction in the number of people that are coming, but also in the number of sponsored jobs that are on offer. And a lot of the people we spoke to said they were really, who'd come here legally, said they were now really struggling to find alternative jobs in this kind of tighter jobs market for them.
So you've gone from what was termed the Boris wave. You have all these people who've come here legally who are suddenly facing a cliff edge. They're probably going to be deported. Did you manage to speak to anyone who was in that position?
So, yeah, we spoke to people whose visas had been curtailed. They lost their original sponsorship and had 60 days to find a new sponsor or face being forced to leave. In some cases, they were able to find work directly through genuine sponsors, but others say that's too hard and they are turning to the black market. So some of those we spoke to who had paid agents or middlemen say that they were scammed, so they paid money believing it would be attached to a real job. And we also spoke to people who have turned to these payroll-only visas knowingly. So we found people who were explicitly seeking out payroll-only jobs and fraudulent visa sponsorships, likely knowing that it's against the law. One of the reasons that people might turn to this option is because it provides that paper trail that shows that they have been in legitimate continuous employment. And proving that you've been in legitimate continuous employment is necessary if you want to apply for permanent residency. So we found people who had appealed for help online. One person wrote, "Hi, I'm looking for a UK certificate of sponsorship, even without a job offer. Can anyone help?" Another person wrote, "My visa ends in December. I completed 3 years in the UK as a care worker in a private company and need 2 years sponsorship. Even only payroll, I'll give them monthly tax. I am very stressed." And so they were offering to pay tax, sort of seemingly knowing that this would be fraudulent, but feeling that it was perhaps the best option for them.
Given that it seems to be happening so much, and this whole illegal industry around these fake visas, is the government aware that these scams are taking place, and are they doing anything about them?
Yeah, so I think it's really important to say that in the grand scheme of things, the vast majority of people that are being granted skilled worker visas and are applying for them are doing so genuinely, and that's what the experts we spoke to said as well. But our investigation does show that agents and companies are really openly advertising this in some cases. The government has said that it's doing a lot to tackle what it calls rogue sponsors and agents who are abusing the immigration system and exploiting workers. In theory, agents and companies that are involved in sponsorship fraud are committing criminal offence. There are obviously laws against fraud, but there's also the offence of facilitating illegal immigration. That carries a maximum punishment of life imprisonment.
Oh, wow.
That, companies can face prosecution, but in reality, we found that prosecutions are really rare. The most common consequence for companies found to be sponsoring workers fraudulently or other breaches, the most common thing is that they have their license to sponsor workers taken away.
Right. Which isn't enough of a disincentive.
Yeah, so the Home Office guidance says that if you have your licence taken away, then typically you can reapply after a year. It can be up to 5 years, but in most cases it's a year, and that's even in cases of illegal working or other breaches being discovered.
Ah.
Yeah, we looked at the list of companies that hold licences to sponsor workers, and we looked at the lists of those that have had them taken away, and there were several examples where companies that have been stripped of their licence to sponsor workers because of breaches have since had them reinstated and been able to keep hiring people.
So it just stops them for a year, basically, and then they can pick up again.
Yeah, the most common punishment is that they have a temporary stop on being able to hire, but actually punishments that go beyond that are really rare.
You've alerted the Home Office to the findings of your investigation. What did they say in response?
So the Home Office said it would launch an investigation. It said it will investigate the illegal activity and that it wouldn't be tolerated. A spokesperson also said that the government was doing whatever it could to secure the UK's borders and cut levels of migration. It said skilled worker refusal rates had increased substantially under the government and there'd been fewer applications in 2025. It also said that the number of sponsors that were having their licences taken away had increased and that it had doubled the amount of time that some of those sponsors had to wait before they could reapply for their licences. We also heard from HMRC, which said it takes reports of payroll fraud seriously and that it would investigate any information it received. And I also spoke to Meta, given a lot of the posts advertising their sponsorship were on its platform. It said that it doesn't allow fraudulent activity and that it had removed content we flagged with it. Also said that it works closely with law enforcement and invests in tools to try and tackle scams and fraud.
Did you go back to Ovi, the agent you first contacted, and explain that he was actually part of an undercover sting, that he had been talking to a reporter the whole time?
So the first thing we did was try to speak to somebody from the company that he had claimed to be able to arrange sponsorship through. So we emailed them and went to the office address, but the person on reception said they'd moved on more than a year ago. We tried to speak to Ovi directly, so we called him and sent messages, but we've not heard anything back yet. We did manage to speak to Rayhan Ghaffar, the chief operating officer at the company.
This is the man the undercover reporter met in a car.
Yeah, that's right.
Hi,
Excuse me, are you Rayhan Gaffer?
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Shanti. I'm a journalist for The Times. Is it possible to have a chat with you, just privately? So he confirmed that he was from Xena Event Management.
What your question exactly?
Yeah, so are you linked to Xena Event Management?
Yeah. I'm working for that.
Yeah, and are you the chief operating officer?
Yeah.
He provided us with his phone number, which is the same one that the undercover reporter had been using to communicate with him on, where he had sent us messages talking about the sponsorship and he'd agreed to meet. But when we asked him questions about the fraudulent sponsorship, about the fake jobs, he said he didn't know what we were talking about. So I understand that you have met with somebody who's seeking sponsorship to come to the UK, to work in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
And that sponsorship is for a job that doesn't exist. So we have footage of you offering to sell that for £13,000 certificate of sponsorship.
Don't really know.
And a payroll-only sponsorship enables someone to come to the UK without an actual job. Is there anything you would like to say about that?
No, there is nothing like that. You're asking me the question.
He said it was a genuine company and denied all wrongdoing. He also said he didn't know who Ovi was and that it wasn't his relative. Do you know somebody called Ovi Hussein?
No.
No, okay. He passed us your phone number.
Is it?
Yeah. And we then spoke to you. Do you remember ever meeting with somebody and offering them sponsorship?
No.
Okay.
Shanti, standing back, I guess the great irony here is immigration has become such a priority for every government, and it's something Labour has talked about a lot. And yet, cracking down on immigration only seems to lead to a bigger black market. Is that inevitable? Is that likely to grow and grow, the more the government takes on immigration?
I think it's a really real risk. The policy changes that Labour's brought in have had a knock-on effect of leading to a fall in the number of new people that are coming to the UK, particularly under the skilled worker visa route. At the same time, there are hundreds of thousands of people who are already here, who arrived legally under the previous government and are now sort of caught within this system that's changing around them. In some cases, their sponsorship might end and they then have to try and find something new, and that's becoming increasingly difficult. There's rising costs for employers, increased unemployment, the jobs market is tightening, it's becoming much more difficult. And so inevitably that's creating demand for alternative options. And I think that's something that agents and some of the companies that we looked at as part of this investigation have been taking advantage of.
That was senior investigations reporter Shanti Das. You can read her full investigation with Undercover video online at thetimes.com. This episode was produced by Taryn Siegel. The executive producer was Tim Walklate, and sound design and theme composition were by Mal Assetto. If you have any questions for the story team, do send us an email to thestory@thetimes.com. Or if you're listening on Spotify, leave us a comment. We do read them all. Thanks so much for listening. We'll be back tomorrow.